Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. There are a couple people that I respect talk about a lot, and this is one of those gentlemen. And I have the honor of having Mr. Bill Allen here. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. You know, we don't know each other. We just got to meet each other in true Austin Linney fashion. But you know, Adam and multiple people that I highly respect, who I've had on the podcast, talk about how much you've taught them. And I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I'm looking forward to reading the new book and all that stuff. So, you know, with my guests, I like them to kind of tell their story and start wherever they want to, and then we'll kind of go from there.
This is like the biggest open-ended question ever. So I'll take it.
And some guys go back to like 1 year old, or some dudes talk about like a year ago. You know, at the end of the day, you know, a lot of my audience are young people getting into the game, and I'm trying to teach them about life. Like I really think that business is pretty simple when you understand the mechanics of it. And it's that life thing that always gets in the way. Well,
you know, you're 100% right. But it doesn't feel like that right away, right? When you start a business, it feels like this is the thing that I got to figure out. And it's the hardest thing ever. But then once you've got it and it's running, you're just like, wow, I can start 5 more of these tomorrow. And you feel like you just got there. But when you look back in the rearview mirror, which none of us ever do, by the way, look back and see how far we've come, you realize, man, it actually was a long journey and a hard one that seems easy now, right? So I'll go back. Maybe I'll give just a framework of how I make decisions and think and that kind of stuff. So I was like a closet entrepreneur as a kid, but I had no idea until I started this real estate business. So like I was a hustler. I would mow grass all the time. I would try to always turn $1 into $2 or $3. I trade baseball cards. I was like the 13-year-old kid at a baseball card show that was in the mall. I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, outside of Baltimore. And there were all these like 40 and 50-year-old guys there. And I was this little 13-year-old kid that was like trading and negotiating sales on my baseball cards. And looking back, I almost got kicked out of middle school because I was selling candy out of a pencil box. I don't know if your listeners, if they're young, they don't know what a pencil box is, but it's like these little plastic or wooden boxes that pencils came in when we were kids. And I'd set up all my candy, like we'd buy candy in bulk and I'd break it up and sell it. All the stuff that says not for resale, I'd like break it up and sell it. And then it went so well before school, like the school, we'd walk to school and we'd get there like an hour early, and they'd have this little area that was open in the winter when it was cold. We could go in and all the kids would show up, and I'd open my store for like an hour until they opened the main door. And when I saw them coming, I'd like close up shop and put it away. And it got so profitable that like around the corner, I would have another kid that was selling candy for me at the other entrance. And then he would get a percentage of the sales and stuff. So fast forward, I was an engineer. I went into the Navy, flew helicopters and airplanes for the Navy. So I'm a very analytical thinker. I make decisions based on data usually, and science, not too good with words, just kind of math. And then I started getting into real estate when I bought a house and I would move every year. I moved 16 times the last 18 or 19 years or so. So I moved a lot, and I'd fix up a house, move, and then rent it out. And then I saw my net worth increase. It started to become interesting to me, and I wanted to figure out how to make more. Flipped my first house, made $43,000. I said, holy crap, this is half of what I make for the year in my salary as a military pilot. How can I do more of this? I did one more. I made $45,000 on that one. And that's when I realized that I need help. I was doing one house a year, and that's it. And I hear people doing 100 houses. I just wanted to do 12. I wanted to flip 12 houses a year. And I found somebody who's doing like 100 or more. He said he's never seen the properties. He doesn't know how to screw in a light bulb. I'm in there like hammering, learning how to lay tile and like learning the trade. I thought I had to do everything myself. And he had systems and process. My whole life revolves around systems and processes. This is the way I think as an engineer. So I joined his mastermind group. Never bought a book. I never went to a training, never paid for anything. I thought that paying for education was like the worst thing in the world, but I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and the Navy paid $1.6 million for me to go to test pilot school. So probably have like $2 million in education, formal education, but never thought that I should invest money in myself, because that's kind of what people talk about online and on social media and stuff like that. And so I joined this program, $25,000, and I went from doing one deal a year to 76 the first year, then 135 the next year, then I did 187. Then we were doing over 200 deals a year for the past few years. That's changed a little bit. Since post-COVID, we've kind of slowed down a little bit, kind of got a little bit smaller and try to become more profitable as a business. And actually, Adam is taking over my company and is growing it back up again. So different story there, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. I was wholesaling and flipping. I do some money lending. We do some multifamily stuff now. And that mastermind company that I joined for $25,000, I bought it 2.5 years ago and I own it now. So that's kind of the clip notes of the last 40 years or so.
So my first joke is my new rule, if I'm at a real estate conference or on a call with somebody, is my immediate answer is, you're in multifamily or real estate, you had to have been an engineer. If it like, I'm not like every multifamily guy I meet, they're like, oh yeah, I used to be an engineer. And like, maybe it's because my grandfather were engineers, and the joke around them was you only ask them yes or no questions. Maybe I could just hear it in their voice. But what do you think? Because there's a lot of people, like if you look at real estate investing on social media, it seems very face front. Like it seems you got to be out there talking your game, smacking it. But when it comes down to the numbers, like there's a lot of people out there that are really good at said, numbers or data or something. And do you feel like you're almost kind of that face where you're not I'm just the get it done guy because I study the numbers, and there's those face flash, like flipping and wholesaling is pretty flashy. Like I know every guy that does it in Arizona. I used to live there, and it's, it's dripping with ego. It's dripping with cars and everything. Like, do you think that's just a different personality you said? Maybe you show the way for people that aren't maybe as face forward?
Okay. So, let's unpack this a little bit, I guess. When I got into real estate, people said, you're actually going to have a problem as an investor, as an engineer, because you're going to overthink and overanalyze everything. And you're not just going to jump. And so, they're right in the beginning. Like I was in this analysis paralysis that everybody talks about, like just overanalyzing everything, like what if ... But I don't think the what if actually comes from the engineering side. I think it comes from the human side, like actually who we are, as we don't want to fail. We don't want to be unloved. We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to whatever. Like we don't want to be accepted. All of that stuff. Like that's the human side of things. Everybody gets that, engineer or no engineer. So if we can get past that and just assume that we need to take a jump, we need to just go sometimes, and we don't need to know A through Z. We can just go from A to B to C to D. That will get us like halfway or more usually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I squashed that with the engineering thing. I just started doing a bunch of deals and making money and putting myself out there. After some coaching and some pushing. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, somebody told me that, so I said, okay. And so if you're listening to this, like, no, you're going to need somebody to hold you accountable to all that stuff, because your self-doubt and the thoughts that creep into your head are the biggest problem. So the flashy stuff, I have a friend of mine that's in a mastermind group with me now. He said something to me. He said, I have more paying customers than Instagram followers. And it kind of made me laugh, because that's kind of, I think there's a lot of people that have no idea who I am, and that's okay. But I'll tell you, if you really want to get big and you want to be like a massive marketer and one of the best, you have to be polarizing. Mm-hmm. And that's the struggle. Like that's the struggle that I have. Like we want to become a bigger company. We want to get out there more. But I'm just not the most polarizing person. And so that's one of my problems. Like, love him or hate him, everybody pretty much knows who Grant Cardone is, right? Mm-hmm. He's in your face. He's flashy. He's polarizing. You either love him or hate him, but you know him. And the best, he said something. I was watching this Undercover Billionaire, which a lot of people probably saw. He said, best known beats best. And I wrote that down and I was like, man, he's like, because we're building the best company. Like we have the best fulfillment. Like I will fight to make sure that our back-end product is the most amazing thing ever, like worth 10 times what people pay for it. And we built that up, and we didn't run a single ad for the last like 2.5 years because of it. We just spent time building that up. Where when I bought it, we were spending $80,000 a month on ads, and we were out there in your face, is all over the place, right? And so once that happens, though, you got to become best known somehow, because if you have the best product or the best thing, if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter. You will fail and you will lose. It doesn't matter if you're the number one product. If they can't find it, you're screwed. So I realize I'm like going around your question, but I'm trying to build some context into it. I'm never going to be the guy who's like flashing like Rolls Royces and watches and stuff like that, and private planes. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think. It's just not my style. And so what I've realized is what I want to try to do is I want to try to attract the people who would associate themselves. We could be friends, right? We have a lot in common. We have similar values and characteristics of who we are. And those are my potential customers, right? That's my avatar. Those are the people that I want to work with, and they want to work with me. So if I decided one day to just put Lamborghinis and Ferraris and things like that on social media, look, I will buy a Ferrari next year, maybe, if I want to drive a Ferrari. But that's not going to be the emphasis of who I am in my ads. It will be a part of me. Like I fly an airplane. I own an airplane. It's not a big, fancy, flashy airplane. I wish it was a G550, but it's not. I can't afford that right now. But I've been flying for 20 years. I love the airplane. If you follow me on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, you're going to see pictures of my airplane. But it's not me talking about, hey, I can help you buy an airplane. I can if that's where you want to go. But if you want to go somewhere else, we'll help you go somewhere else. So I think we attract who we are, like we get what we are. And so the people that are doing that stuff on social media is fine, but they're going to attract those kind of people. And if that's fine, like there's a place for everybody. It's so to answer your actual question, which was multifamily as engineers versus single family, there's plenty of like high integrity single family house flippers and wholesalers that are low key, that are just out there crushing it and nobody knows who they are. And I love it because they're probably part of our community. And the people that know who they are, the people that they're making an impact and difference in their lives, their communities, and giving back like in an insane way and sharing my 5 core values. One of them being stewardship. Yeah. So.
And I think one of the things that I see just from an outside point of view and looking at you just from a third party and not spending any time in your presence, like you are your brand. And at the end of the day, like that's what you're searching for. And, you know, my coach always told me that you'll never have to worry about finding coaching clients because you only coach what you've been through. And the longevity of that brand is going to grow to, you know, what Seth Godin talks about, true fans. You know, everybody's out after all these followers, but that comment that your buddy made, I think is the greatest thing in the world. Like, and so, you know, what are your 5 core values? Because I think that values are everything.
So they started with 4, and I'll tell a quick story. It's kind of what I like to do. So, and when we created these values, they spelled ship, SHIP, which was kind of strange because being a Navy guy, it kind of fit, but we didn't intend for that. So they're easy for me to remember. Stewardship is the first one. And it probably is important to get some context with them instead of just hearing them. So stewardship is like really, it's a biblical term, but you know, just being a good steward of everything that we do, everything that we touch. So our resources as a company, other people's time, like if I'm going to come on your podcast, I'm going to give you everything that I've got. It's really important that we're good stewards. We leave places better than we've come. And then the people inside the company are being good stewards of the company resources and all the effort that we're putting in. We also give back a ton to whether it's financial to charities or our time. Then hard work. Hard work was a big one. My dad instilled that with me. It's not like just working long hours. It's actually being like really efficient and putting in that work that needs to happen to move the needle the direction that we need to go. Integrity. So doing the right thing when nobody's looking is the way that I would define this. Integrity is a huge part of me. I've had people that like you get my trust for free right away. You get my trust. But if you take advantage of me and lose it, like it's really hard to climb back from that. But you don't have to earn my trust really. You just kind of get it right up front. But I just surround myself with people who do the right thing regardless. Like money is the mirror. It holds up a mirror to us. I think we see who we
do you mind if I stop you right there? Because
Yeah.
that you and I are very similar in that point. And a lot of people have told me, not they're not like talking, but they said like, be careful, like you trust really easy. And I'm like, look, I'm probably going to get burned. And it's happened a lot in my life, but I've also won a lot on the other side of that by seeing there was more to that person than maybe they knew on themselves. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I've been burned plenty of times, and it's going to happen again. And to be perfectly honest, most of the time what we carry around is just like the financial losses that we had, like maybe as a bad loan that I've done or something like that's happened, which it has happened and it probably will again. I learn from it each time, but I'm not going to, I'm naturally skeptic and I think through all the different angles from the beginning. But if we don't open those doors, like how many more doors open for us because we don't have to like earn your way in to our time or our trust. We just like show up there, present for the people, get interested, want to be a part of things, and would rather go on that than what if these 5 different things went wrong or I need to wait. Yes, I agree with everything that you said. Like, I really do think I'd rather go that way than like, I don't trust anybody.
Well, it's the same way. It's the same way. It's the same way in love, right? If you really want to talk about it, like your need to hold your heart back, to not get hurt again, is the reason that nobody's showing up for you. It's the same thing in relationships. And so it's great. It's the first time I ever heard that, because I have been, roasted many a times in my life, but I'm better for it. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I just thought that was a huge point. So
no, I think you're right. Because we get beaten into that gets beaten into us our entire life. Like, be careful, watch out, slow down. Like, and I don't know. It's a shame. Really,
it's like going to Spain and not talking to them because they're Spanish. Yeah. Like, I've heard that. Like, oh, I'm over here. Like they're foreigners. No, you're in their country now. Yep. Like be open to the fact that, as adults, we lose that curiosity, fun, wonder.
Oh, curiosity is a word. I just went to UPW, Tony Robbins event. And that curiosity was like just being open to something that's different. This is my first event that I've ever attended, like his full 4 days. And it was eye-opening for me just to get outside. That's not who I am. I don't jump around and dance and do all this stuff, but I said, like, what if I just
you know what I call it? Wading into deep waters.
That's it.
Yeah. I have an NFT show right now. I couldn't even tell you what an NFT is. But like my flaw is, what I've met through that? Amazing human beings that want to get into real estate that are only in crypto. Like that was not my intention, but now they have an olive branch into the real estate world because I decided to show up, even though I might look stupid.
Oh yeah. Oh, hey, believe me, I look stupid on a regular basis, and there's no other way to learn. Like, how else are you going to learn if you don't jump in? And something new, I'll tell you, it doesn't mean it's not good, it's not beneficial, and it's not right for you. Last year, so I talked about this on my podcast. I did one called "I Almost Lost My Family," and I'm very open and honest, and it's not the highlight reel that people get. So I talked about how my wife asked me for a divorce last year. And we got to a really, really bad place, like a really low place. And I went to a wellness center where I said, look, if we're going to get through this, I want to go to this place. My friend told me about it. 3 days in a wellness center. It was yoga, cold water, warm water therapy, breathing, meditation. I'm a military guy. I'm in my 19th year in the Navy. I flew helicopters and airplanes for them. I dropped off Navy SEALs. We did all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And this was not a place where you talk about your feelings, right? That whole time. It's very much macho, a lot of bad language, a lot of sitting around talking about how awesome you are when you wear your flight suit. I'll tell you that. You guys have all seen Top Gun. That's kind of what it's like. So I go there and I see a totally different side of the universe, basically, of everything. And I still do cold showers, Wim Hof breathing techniques, ice baths, meditation, I don't do yoga, but I'm open to doing it. It just wasn't for me. But all of this stuff opened up a whole nother world that actually allowed me to connect with my wife at a deeper level. And that's a lot of the stuff that she's interested in. Me seeing that was very empowering. We're stronger than ever right now. We have an amazing relationship, and we're able to turn it around a lot because of that. So anyway, so that is like wading into deep waters and areas where you're uncomfortable is probably the place that you need to go to get where you belong. Let's say that, or where you're called to be. Like that might be the thing that's holding you back, is your unwillingness to do something.
My favorite quote, George Bernard Shaw: "The single greatest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place."
I love that.
And that's most men. And
Yep.
one of the things I fight, because I coach a lot of 40-year-old ups, and they're successful, but their health or home life's in shambles,
Yep.
is they're turning around saying, "I'm doing this for you." And your kid and your wife are going, "We didn't ask you to."
Yeah.
And that's why this podcast exists, because no amount of money, and I commend you, and I actually listened to that episode. So thank you for being open. Because everybody wouldn't stop talking about that episode. It was everywhere. So I was like, I better find out who this guy is. And it was how I got introduced to you. But I didn't listen to you. It's so funny. We were talking about my mentor earlier and everything. I've had 390 conversations with him, spent days in cars with him. And we've probably talked about real estate twice.
Yep.
We talk about life, and I follow him because who he is as a dad and a father. And I know that the people that are in your program probably follow you for the same way. We thank you for the flipping advice and all that stuff, but we're more excited about who we are as a person.
Well, I think that's it. What I found over the past few years is I thought it was about the tactics, the strategies, the techniques, all that stuff, but really without a foundation built on rock, right? It's talked about in the Bible with built on sand versus rock. It doesn't matter what we build. It's not powerful without that. And the thing that comes down to it all is there's plenty of people that are successful. So back to that, you can buy a car, great, but and for me it was. You talk about communication. You're right. She didn't feel seen. Right. And I thought exactly what you said. We made an agreement that I'm going to get in, do this real estate thing and start this business. And I'll be away from the family for a year, but then I'll be there all the time. And I'm here. I'm here 10 times more than every other dad in the neighborhood last year. And they go to work at 8 and they come back at 5 or 6. And I'm here working from the house every day. I'm here to pick up the kids. I make breakfast. I do all this stuff. She's like, "You're not here. You can't unplug. You can't figure out how to not have that." And the kids have to say her name a couple of times. And she would never say, "I don't feel seen," but that's what happened. Right. Mm-hmm. She just didn't feel like I was there. And we made this agreement, but then and that was for a year in 2014. And I just kept renewing the agreement every single year without checking back in, right? Without saying, "Hey, do you still want to go this direction? Do you still want to, are you still okay with me doing these things?" I fell in love with speaking, with podcasting, with creating a movement almost, right? And being significant to them and having love and connection there and having all the things that I needed. And then what I wasn't doing is I was treating the home life the same way, basically. There's a whole lot of things that I was doing wrong that I just hope that I find as many people before things get really to the bottom and crashing down, to say, "Hey, just be careful, because business can get very addictive, very addictive. Whether you're good at it or not good at it, it can become very addictive." So
I've learned from people like you and my mentor and my coach. And what I've tried to do is, it's not easy, but I positioned my weeks strategically, where Monday, I'll go from 6 to 6 all day today. And then Wednesday's the same thing. And Tuesdays from 4 a.m. to 12. But that's to give me Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's not I won't take meetings, but my coach said, you physically made it happen. Mentally, you're not there yet.
Yes.
But I know it's coming.
Yep.
But like this was a big thing to me. So like, hey, look, I can go create 6 figures in my coaching business and work 4 days a month. That's no bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I also want fulfillment and impact. And so I'm going to create jobs as long as it fits in this box.
Well,
and
you said it there.
Yeah.
You hit it. You got it. Fulfillment. You said that the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's an art piece to it that you really enjoy and love. And there's no amount of time time's gone. Like right now, I love doing this. Like I love talking about this stuff. I have no idea what time it is. Don't care. We could talk for 4 hours. I feel like 5 minutes, but you get me doing other stuff. Like you take me to a cocktail party and start having small talk with somebody about something I'm not interested in. That hour feels like a month. Right. And so it's interesting to see because I don't feel like I work. Like I was interviewing somebody this past week and they're like, you do so much stuff. How do you get all that stuff accomplished? I was like, it actually doesn't feel that bad to me. Like I could actually do it. I don't even need to sleep when I'm doing some of this stuff. It just jacks me up. And so I think the piece that we have to understand is when we're working like that much in the business and then we come home to our family, we try to be that same person when we go home. And what I realize is I actually have to adjust and change. It's like the professional football player that has to go home and change a diaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what they're not talking about is I'm seeing happening with my best friends is they were getting that drive home from the office. And now he's negotiating $500 million deals with, the Exxon Mobil, and he walks out 2 feet and the kids are at his feet.
Yep.
And so you have to have like triggers or anchors or a song or something to switch your mood so you can kind of transition into a different, like for lack of a better word, a different human being.
Totally. And because my wife was like, this is not a business transaction. Like we can't just have meetings and you run the family like a business. And I'm sitting here going,
and you're military. So it's
I'm sitting, exactly. I'm like, no, the family does need to be run like a business. Like, absolutely. I could get this thing like wired. It'd be perfect. We could run it like a business, have a meeting once a week, have our annual planning session at this resort. And she's like, nope. So she brings me back into the present because I live like way in the future. And then I bring her into the future. Like we're really good balance. And what we realized, I kept trying to be like, you need to be all here in the future with me. And she's like, no, you need to slow down. And just to understand that we give a great balance between each other is the key. So hopefully that's some pieces of advice for your listeners to talk through. So
it's such good stuff because it's the stuff that matters. It's the stuff that one of the things that really, before I was even stopped drinking, universe, whatever you want to call it. I met a friend and she said, listen, I have no doubt that you're going to be successful. You're a fucking bulldog. Like you're going to do whatever you want to go do. But when you're on the top of that mountain, who's going to be standing next to you?
Yep.
And she called me a bloody knuckle climber. I was like, done. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was like, because it was the truth. And it was the first time I realized that the pain of my parents' divorce and all this stuff and all these addiction and homelessness and all this stuff is like, fuck you, kiss my ass. We're going to do it. But then what's going to be left? Like nobody. And it's that victim mentality. It's the, no, this is the way it's going to be. And ultimately like you 100%, like, because she is who she is, you are get to be who you want to be and vice versa and vice versa. And there was, probably she just wanted her husband back, like more than anything. I mean, if you're really just being honest, like, she probably would have given up a lot. You got lucky. I mean, and like totally. It's so awesome that you get to share that story and impact others,
Yeah. And I have to remind I tell the story so often and I talk about it and think about it because I want to sit in that moment and remember what it was like and look in that rearview mirror because there's times even like right now where things get tough, like, you got all like my family's coming, the holidays, all these things. You can fall back into a place of not really like appreciating that other person or appreciating all the work that you've done over the last year and be like, I'm sure there's something better. There's something else out there. There's other things like, and just say, no, like you went through the thick of it to get to this amazing place. Keep it amazing. And it's up to you. Like one person can change a relationship. One person can change a business. One person can change anything. Like how we show up is the important key. And so you're right. Like I did get lucky. And but I mean, I could have just easily just quit and walked away. I think like staying is the hard part. Like most, and I have like, there's no problem. Anybody out there who's been divorced, is gone through this and said, screw this, it's not for me. I by no means am judging anybody on what happened. I don't know your story. Don't know what happened. It may have been the best decision that you could have possibly made. But for me, I knew this was the best thing for me. It's the best thing for, and the one thing that at that wellness center that we talked about is if we're staying because I need her or she needs me, it's the wrong thing. Like we both had to say, I want you. We had to look at each other and say, I want to be with you. I don't need to be here. We both knew we didn't need each other, regardless of how many kids we have or what the structure looks like financially, anything. But we want each other. And if we go through every single day like that, like I want to be here, I want you, show up differently. So,
game changer. Yeah. No, it's my eternal argument that everybody thinks they don't have a choice. Meaning, hey, dude, stop being a grump. Stop complaining. If you don't want to do the job, don't do the job. If you don't want to be in the relationship, don't be in the relationship.
Yep.
If you're sitting on the sidelines 5 years waiting to buy a property, like let's just be real with ourselves. Yep. Get over yourself. Like, it's like, but we're walking around complaining, bitching and moaning, saying we don't have a choice. Like my favorite line ever in a podcast was Aubrey Marcus says, you could not eat and you would die, but it's still your choice. And it's like, it's the truth. Like, it's like we were acting around like we don't have a choice, but I would imagine you flip so many properties in your career and you still do it to this day. But I bet you when somebody comes to your group and they get their first deal or they make a quarter of what they made in a year, I bet there's no better feeling for you.
Oh, totally. Totally. We give these, so when I bought the company, we created these awards. And so I don't have one. I'm a military guy. So we have coins. I'm sure there's one somewhere around here. We have military challenge coins. So we created these challenge coins and we have a first deal coin. We have a liftoff coin, which is getting from our runway group to our altitude group. So doing like $200,000 a year or 10 to 12 deals a year. And then we have the 7-figure club coin, first make $1 million in a year. And then we have this freedom coin that people can find financial freedom, time freedom, or impact freedom. And they apply for those. So at our event, I get to give out these awards. And in the coin, we give a coin, like I get to shake their hand like we did in the military. And then we also create these like huge plaques that have the coins and a bunch of other images and stuff on them. And honestly, there's not and people that come to our events are probably like, man, there's like 20 minutes of awards at this place where we're recognizing the people inside of our mastermind group that have achieved these things. And it's for them, it's for all the people around them. But honestly, like part of it is for me too. Like it is just so amazing to see that. We had a post recently. A guy said, I've spent 3 years in analysis paralysis, not just trying to figure it out. I went to Flip Hacking Live. I joined the Runway program. I had one coaching call on Friday. I made an offer on Monday. I got accepted. I got my first deal. I was like, holy crap. Like that was it. That one post made it like, that'll give me a year of fuel to like work twice as hard over the next year, just from remembering that. And I screenshotted it, put it up on my personal page. So next year I get reminded of that. So Facebook does do a good job of reminding me all that stuff. So you're right. That's it. And I think any coach and trainer will tell you that's it. Like that's the fulfilling piece of it. And it's a lot less about what you do at that point. Once you get a taste of that, it's game over. And that's why so many people, I think, get into coaching and training and mentorship and things like that. Once they become successful, kind of walk the path and they're like, let me see if I can coach, because all of the things that you do to get you where you go might not work for other people. Like it doesn't actually become a system and a full on like principle until you can do it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people. And when I say do it for them, it's completely inaccurate. It's like walking that mountain you're talking about of like bloody knuckle climbing. It's like climbing that mountain with them using those principles. So that's the interesting part. And not all great players are great coaches either. So and vice versa.
No, and I saw your face light up, and it's so great. What do you think? Because I deal with this on a daily basis. What do you think is the difference between the people that you've seen fly through your course and scale, and the ones that just kind of sit in neutral?
This is such a great question, because that's the science, right? The science of achievement that Tony actually talks about, which I love. This achievement piece is like, you got to go take action, like go out there and actually like get out of your head, believe in yourself. The belief piece is what needs to change. Like you got to change your beliefs. You mentioned something about a divorce in your past and like framing and shaping who you are. I gave a presentation at one of our events. It's my favorite one I've ever done. It's called like the Hero's Two Journeys is a concept. Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, like a long time ago. If you look at any movie or anything like that, it goes through this Hero's Two Journeys where you have this outer journey, inner journey. And a lot of our identity is shaped by the fears and problems in our past, like the wounds that we carry around. So if we can strip all of that and live in our essence, we can actually go to the place that we're called and we need to go. We usually can't see it or identify it until we go down the path, but all of that comes back to the belief. Like we need to change our belief system. And so that's another step. So taking action, changing our beliefs. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing that most people miss is you pay to join a program. You pay to buy a course. You pay somebody else who has the results that you want. Other people around them are getting the same results that you want, and you see them do that. So just listen to them. I know that this is like a crazy thought, but like just listen and do what they're telling you to do. The most successful people just follow the system. Like if you already knew how to get there, you'd already be there. Like, I hate to break it to you, but when I paid $25,000 to hire a coach, when he told me to do something, I did it. It's not like Michael Jordan showed up. Actually, he did show up in high school, and his high school coach sat him on the bench and cut him from the team. Like, it's because he wasn't listening and he was showing off. So like, if you hire a coach, you pay somebody $25,000 or $50,000, $100,000 or $5,000, doesn't matter. Like, just do what they're saying to do. Like, stop questioning it and do it. Have some faith, and then iterate that over time. See how, calculate, check the results. So many people come in and they're just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this way. It's like, okay, dude, the results you're getting are based on the system that you're putting into practice. So I know it's crazy, but just listen to what your coach says, do it. And that's the successful people actually do that. And eventually it's this thermostat concept. It'll change your thermostat. Your thermostat has a setting right now. And the amount of money that you make too much money, you start self-sabotaging yourself. So just keep changing that over time. Like right now, like I never want to make less than $1 million a year. $1 million a year. Like, remember when I made $43,000 on that house flip? Like, 8 years ago, as half my salary is like amazing. I want to make $1 million in my lifetime. I just changed my thermostat.
Ed Milet was speaking to the GoBundance guys, and all these dudes are 5, 10, 100, 30 million, like big players, like 170 of them. And he starts out the talk. He says, "Yeah, every one of you are successful compared to who? Not compared to me." And, and at the end of the day, by the way, you're listen to your coach. I'm just going to clip that clip and just play it every day for my clients, because it's so important. One of my favorite books was Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and he talks about the reason that you're not successful is because your ego needs the credit.
Totally. Like,
and it's like, dude, just like, and what I tell everybody is this: you don't have any business problems. Business problems don't exist. It's only a personal problem wrapped up in business.
Totally.
And so at the end of the day, like I've only flipped one house before, but I sure as hell am going to listen to Bill if I go flip some houses, you know? And then but that's not what they do. They walk in strutting, like, you spent the money. It's like, my friend always tells me, cause I have a hard time with this sometimes. He said, if you already spent the money on the vacation, why don't you fucking enjoy it?
Right.
It's the same thing when you sign up for the flipper thing. And at the end of the day, you're not comparing yourself to anybody. You have your own things. And that's kind of my philosophy with, like, I have a friend who's 24 and I think he's going to have 900 units this year, and my philosophy is him compared to the 50-year-old is he's just dumb enough to be great. He just doesn't care. Like, he just doesn't care. And he has no context to life. And he's just being himself and he's leaning into it. But the 30-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 50-year-old is sitting there going, well, I know, but I got these kids, I got these houses. Yeah, but what if it all works out? Like, what if, and one of the things that I want to talk to you about that I bet you see a million times, this is my new thing I'm on. It's very hard to switch from a worker mentality to the CEO of your own life. I think that transition is very hard. Do you see that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
But hey, before I answer that, you said something that I think is really important.
Yeah.
You said, what if it works out? Mm-hmm. So, and I want to make sure that anybody that's listening doesn't miss that, because most of the time when people come to us, they're like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't get what I'm supposed to get? What if there's not enough value in there for what I'm paying? Like, they're asking like all the wrong questions. Like, what if it works? Like, answer that first and think about what your life would be like if it does. And like, I just spent $150,000 a year on a mastermind. I paid $150,000. So if that gives some context to anybody, like, I practice what I preach. Okay. Yeah. Practice what I preach. And you're right. Like, I paid 150 grand. And the second that I did it in 3 seconds, my decision-making process was so fast. It's another thing that I think people that are successful in our programs and anywhere, they make decisions quickly with the information that they have based on the results that they think they may get. Not that they know they will get. They think they look at it and they go, I'll decide. And then I'll make adjustments, make tweaks over time. But in all of that, I was like, I'm not like, what am I going to get? What's it going to be? Like, what if it works? Like, what if the people that I'm in the room with change my life? What if they change my business? What if one item, and granted, I run a couple multi-million-dollar companies, so a 5 or 10% tweak pays for that, right? It's not like I have a $50,000 a year company. I'm paying 150 grand for a mastermind. But what if it works? What if it works? So,
well, you know what? Hold on. Your mentality there in that moment is actually predicated on you will get value from it because that's the way you're viewing it.
Totally. But I mean, that guy also built massive value with me ahead of time where I can make a decision that fast. Like, he has given so, like, when people give you so much value for free, you're just like, I feel like I call it
social capital. I like to spread it all out. Do you know who Kyle Cease is? So Kyle Cease is one of my favorite dudes, ex-comedian, ex-actor, doesn't plan for anything. It's how I operate my life. Gary Vee doesn't plan for anything, just let it flow. And he says the problem with people, let me see if I can get this quote right. It's super hard. But he said the problem is that people don't want to do that thing or tell the truth because it's really easy to see what they might lose by telling the truth. They have no idea what they might gain because they can't see it and it's unquantifiable. So that's basically the same thing that you're saying with the what if, because we can play the what if no game all the time, but start playing the what if yes game and you'd be surprised how your mood changes around something.
You have to visualize the results before you get them. That's a big thing that I took away from Tony's 4-day event is he showed his, belief, action, results. He's got a cycle. Belief, action, results. Anyway, there's a fourth one. It's escaping me as I'm put on the spot, but the results, you have to visualize those results ahead of time. And he's like, how do you get results before you actually take any action? You have to visualize the results. That was a big takeaway that I took from that. It was like amazing to think about how often we visualize the negative result and then it stops us from taking action. But if we can visualize the positive result from that we're wanting to achieve, and that's what we look at and we think about and it's like real, then we can go take the action and not be afraid, and fear won't hold us back. So, what if it works out? The CEO thing, hiring somebody was the thing that was holding me back in the beginning. I was just afraid to hire anybody in my business. So I wasn't even, I was the CEO of my life at that point, actually, but I had no business. And then when I created a business, I feel like I kind of like got addicted to that and tried to bring it back to to my life. And where I fell out of balance was the fact that I'm just a huge giver. Like we talked about trusting people and adding value and feeling fulfilled by other people's success. I just gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. And I was not selfish at all. Wouldn't take any time for myself, recharging, things like that. You meant we're very different people if you live your life based on no plan. I have like plans and structure and stuff like that.
Yeah, but ultimately there's some things that we do share in common, which coming from the recovery space, this is the number one thing because I want to help so many people. I'm having to realize that as my coaching roster gets full, I'm really responsible to other people. So if I pay that person, I'll show up for that person. I almost have to force stuff in my week for me to recharge, or I'll burn myself out. Yeah.
Oh, totally. And that's the thing for me is I was like, you know what? I always feel guilty. Like even just going out, I'd be invited for poker game with some friends, and I would feel guilty leaving my wife and our 3 kids. So she would have to put the kids to bed on her own and go do that. But I'm perfectly willing to watch the kids for a week while she goes on a trip. If she ever would, but she, like, you know, I have no problem. Like I give me the kids, like, I want you to go do that. And and I'm almost like projecting that on her. Like I'm the one that's creating the guilt, but it's her fault because she's making me feel that way. And she wasn't even really making me feel guilty. I just felt guilty. And so a lot of it was the fact that I was this like Labrador, right? Just a totally like follow you around, take care of everybody else's needs but my own. And so that manifested into me realizing that, talking through it with my wife, Lucy, and saying, hey, these are what I want. This is what I want to do. Went on a guy's ski trip with a buddy of mine from my fraternity in college. This Friday, I have some friends flying in. We're going to fly down to Key West and go fishing for 8 days, four guys fishing for 8 days offshore Key West. It'll be awesome. And I haven't done that in like 10 years. I've been offshore fishing, and I used to go every single year before we got married. So like knowing that and I'm going to come back like a powerhouse in business and in life. Oh, yeah. Like I'll just come back refreshed. I'm turning the phone off, the computer's off. Like, sorry, you can't get me for 8 days. So
permission.
Yes.
That word, man. It's like, I just say it and my body chills because, you know, when you're, you know, I tell everybody I could quit my entire career and only study one subject for the rest of my life for the next 60 years and be full with work. Entrepreneurs believe that if I turn off my flame, I can't turn it back on.
No,
I mean, it just saying it makes me feel it inside.
Yeah, I'm telling you that thing. It's funny because I feel like that entrepreneur flame was on when I was a kid, and it got turned off by college, the government, the Navy, stuff, all that stuff. You know, my biggest fear was I don't want to be responsible for anybody else's pay. I just want my paycheck to come in, and it was like a little spark when I was a kid, right? I always loved money, turning $1 into $2, and now it's like a full-fledged, like roaring bonfire that is not even comparable to some of the other like entrepreneurs, like crazy visionaries that are out there in the world. So it's really interesting. I think all it needs is just a little bit of air on a spark that just turns into a full blaze. Like once it turns on, you're done.
No,
like,
what I tell them is I said, lean into my craziness. You're good. Yeah, like if you saw my mind map, I'm like, just buckle up, boys. It's going to be a wild ride. Like right. I show it. So I have an analytical business partner. Thank God. Let me tell you something. This man is not even working in the business right now because he's finishing up his military career. And I said, listen, whatever you want. I'll put your kids through college. I'll pay for you to have a salary, ownership. I don't care. Like, just come work with me. And so he knows that he's got a job waiting for him. He's a helicopter pilot in the military, and he just had a second kid. And I need him because if it wasn't for him, I'd be Airbnb in my car. I'd be Airbnb the dog. Like, you know, but it's like, I love having those people around me because after I read Rocket Fuel, I was like done. I was like, okay, this is what exactly needs to be. But I know I want to wrap up before the hour. If people want to find out about your flipping course, a podcast, how would they do that?
Yeah, I have a podcast called 7-Figure Flipping Podcast. I'd love it if you guys would check it out. I just wrote a book. That's kind of how we got connected, I think. And we're giving it away for free. Is it okay if I share the link for that?
Of course. I can't wait to read it. Yeah.
if you go to 7ffbook.com, it's like the number 7ffbook.com. You got to pay for shipping. It's just a free plus shipping book. We don't have it on Amazon yet. I think it's going up there for like $20, $25, but I think shipping is like $8. So we like drop ship it from a warehouse. So I'm ordering like 1,000. I'm speaking at an event. I'm just going to hand them out to people. Like my goal is just get that in the hands. It's seriously got like everything that I've learned over the past like 8 years, good, bad, others, like should save you thousands and thousands of dollars if you want to flip or wholesale houses. And I don't know. It's kind of like the map of, it took me 2 years to write this thing. So it's, I'll send you one. Maybe I should have done that already.
No, I love it. So guys, remember when he said, show up and listen to the teacher? It's $8. Okay. Buy the fucking book, shut up, save yourself thousands of bucks. Same thing. I lost a bunch of money in business. I'm trying to tell you how not to do it, and all that stuff. So, man, I can't thank you enough. Seriously enjoyed this conversation. I know everybody's going to get a ton of value from it, and can't wait to support your book launch.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. I always need to be reminded of a lot of this stuff when I talk about it. For the next week, 2 weeks, it just keeps me accountable to go home. I love talking about the family life stuff. I
think you're a little like me. I tell everybody I've only shared this with like 3 people because I heard it only once other time before. The way I view my life is it's me, who's my body, and then my subconscious is walking side by side with me. And I have a photographic memory. So I'm always like, I'll replay this conversation like a week from now on the golf course. And I'll like think of stuff and like I'm always correcting. And I think if you have self-awareness, I think if you're never saying you're going to be perfect and you're taking this conversation what we had and you're saying, okay, there's a lot of nuggets in here. Let me write this down. Let me remind myself of that. And that's all you need to do. There's nothing more, nothing less. And you don't need to cram the whole encyclopedia. You just need to communicate and understand that life is greater than any dollar amount that you would ever make.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to walk side by side with my subconscious for the next few weeks on
Dude,
this.
I heard it one time. Gary Vee was interviewing him. I was like, oh my God, I've been doing that for 30 years. And I never heard anybody else say that. That was weird. So
now you've only told 4 people and everybody on
my podcast. Well, you can take it, use it. It's all good. Guys, share this with somebody. You get some value and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.